I've been accused of being many, many things in my life. Some more accurate than others, but out of all the things I've been called, city boy has not ever been one of them. And it got stranger because the reason he called me a city boy was because I said it was weird that the neighbor who suddenly wants to move his fence after it had been there for 50 years, 10 feet onto my property, wanted to do it after we had a ton of rain. He's actually referring to the fact that he wanted to cut up some downed trees that needed to be cut up so we actually could move the fence because, you know, we needed equipment down there to do that. And, it was really wet and equipment could possibly get stuck. Kind of like how his 4-wheel drive tractor got very stuck in my pasture, which was, you know, the whole point of the video. But whatever, that notwithstanding, he said I was a city boy because it's easier to dig post holes when it's wet, which is something that no one who's ever dug a hole in the history of ever has said, because when you dig in wet ground, you end up having to dig the wet ground off of your digging tool. It's really flippin' annoying. Also, wet ground is heavier, so it's a lot more work to pull up out of the hole. And the walls cave in when you're dealing with a wet, sloppy hole, so you gotta dig twice as much to do the same job. But all of that's kind of irrelevant, because when you're putting up a fence, you don't dig post holes, you pound them. Insert your mom joke here. I have equipment, so I don't pound them manually much anymore. But for me, it really doesn't make a difference if pounding it in is easier when she's wet versus dry. But do you know what happens when you put a fence post in wet ground? It's like trying to get a hot dog to stand upright in a 5-gallon bucket full of sloppy wiener water. Insert your mom joke here. Then you go on to pretend like you're some farmer or rancher and say, keep trying, buddy. We don't stop farming or ranching just because it rains. Yes, the fuck you do. You know why the neighbor hasn't planted this field yet? Because we've had too much goddamn rain. Turns out tractors are heavy. Who knew? And if you take them to go try to farm a muddy field, you aren't going to be farming for very long. And every farmer loves spending hours getting equipment unstuck. And they love deep ruts in their field even more. So clearly you've never farmed a day in your life, which is fine. But what I don't understand is when obviously the only hole your soft hands have ever dug is in the comment section. Why is the hill that you're choosing to die on picking a fight about fencing and dirt with the guy who has acreage and an excavator and farm equipment and horses? It's just baffling. But whatever, you know, at least you tried. And congrats on getting your own video simply because I was so baffled by this particular comment. Just truly baffled. Anyway, good job.